You're an experienced litigator, right? Just in layman's terms, Gerard, break this down for us.
Oh, wow. So the essence of this is the government is going after Donald Trump for daring to challenge the election, for daring to having the audacity to not trust that he had lost, not accepting as fact what he was being told by some people or by the media, and actually pursuing his remedies to challenge the election and remain in office. And they're doing this by claiming a conspiracy, by claiming that he and his lawyers conspired to commit a crime. This is really an attack on the justice system when you're going after a person for relying on the advice of counsel, looking at precedent, looking what John F. Kennedy did in 1960, and then charging him with a federal crime and trying to put him in prison for 55 years. That's what this boils down to. There's sour grapes because he is running for office. He is neck and neck with Joe Biden. He has popularity like no one else does at this stage. So what do you have to do? You have to indict him. We don't like Trump. Orange man bad. So let's indict him and put him behind bars.
So, I mean, walk us through the next step here. I mean, I've got Courtney Kramer up next. We're going to go through the Fani Willis facade in Georgia in a minute. But walk us through this. So they did the indictment. I read it for 45 pages. I'm not a lawyer, but I thought it was a joke as a layman. But I did read it. So now you do an arraignment. What happens now?
Now there will be some hearings later in August 28th, I believe, to set further dates for discovery deadlines, for exchange of information. Trump will have the right to investigate the claims, see what documents and evidence the government has, and prepare a defense. And after that, we will get into pretrial motions. Trump will file motions from everything to get this judge changed because she seems to be biased based on other rulings she's made in January 6 cases, to changing the venue, to dismissing the charges outright because there's no legal basis to bring them. So we're going to have months of protracted hearings and motions and discovery before we even get to the prospect of a trial. And here's the thing. At any stage, if the motions don't go Trump's way or the government's way, there can be a pause in the proceedings for an appeal to take place, and the appeal would go up the chain, basically even to the Supreme Court. So we're not in any expedited position to get this resolved.
Okay, so what is the earliest you could get a trial in your judgment? You have to speculate, I understand, Gerard, but just speculate, pure conjecture based on your experience and all the filings that are going to be made. What's the earliest you could even get a trial?
Well, with pure conjecture and based on how many unindicted co-conspirators there are and the volumes of so-called evidence that the prosecution is likely to have, I'm guessing 2025 is the earliest you get to trial on this. It's not going to be before
2025. So you're convinced it's not going to be before the election?
No, I don't see how it can be. We're not talking about a box of evidence. We're talking about the Justice Department having allegedly interviewed hundreds of people, looked at tens of thousands of hours of video, gone through phone calls, text messages, conversations that Donald Trump had with hundreds of people. And the defense now has to sit down and go through all of that. And that takes time. Even with a large defense team, that takes time. And then you have motions, which take time to resolve and appeal. So you are not looking at a trial within the next year. This is something that will inevitably have to be drawn out. It's a massive prosecution. We've not seen anything like this ever before. So we can't really say that it will be on it's not a guy who robbed a corner grocery store. These are very difficult charges for the prosecution to prove. They will need to put on a mountain of evidence, and Donald Trump has the right to go through each of that and rebut it. So we are looking at a very drawn out timeline.